Hey friends, today we're going to work on the practice sheet for lesson 14-3. Let's go ahead and talk about how to make a line plot, all the different parts of your data representation that you're going to need. For question 1, number 3 tells us to draw a line plot to represent the data in the table. We're asked, which statement best describes the heights of the giraffes shown in the line plot? So here we're asked to look at the data and figure out something about what we're learning from the data. So I can see that this data is shown in feet. So this is like how many feet tall each giraffe is. There are 2 giraffes in this data set that are 15 feet tall. And I know that because I can see 2 X's. Each X represents 1 giraffe that's 15 feet tall. There are 3 giraffes that are 16.5 feet tall. So I could label this interval 16.5 feet. There's 1 giraffe that is 17 feet tall and 2 giraffes that are 17.5 feet tall. So let's look at these statements. The shortest giraffe is 16 1/4 or 1/4 feet tall. Well, I know that's not true because the shortest giraffe is 15 feet tall, so I can cross that out. B, the tallest giraffe is 17.5 feet tall. Yes, that looks like that would be a true statement. Let me just check the others. C, most of the giraffes are 17 feet tall. No, that's not true because we have more giraffes that are 16.5 feet tall. We have 3 that are 16.5 feet, and we only have 2 that are, we only have 1 that's 17 feet tall, so I'm going to cross that out. There are 4 giraffes in the data set. Let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope. I count 8 giraffes in the data set, so I'm going to select B as the right answer for this. Notice how I'm writing on the line plot. As I count the X's, I cross them out. I added information to help me understand what I was looking at. It's a good idea to take notes as you're looking at these data sets. You can either print out the worksheet, make a copy of it, just draw it yourself in your notebook, or write down your observations as you are doing the work. Number 2, Marietta purchased 15 cucumbers to make pickles. And the lengths of the cucumbers in inches, that's important, inches, are shown in the chart. Draw a line plot to show the length of the cucumbers. Okay, so this we have done before, lots of times in our bell ringers. We're going to draw a line plot. So I'm going to draw a long line that goes side to side, and in chart and graph terms, this is called our x-axis. The side that goes side to side is called the x-axis. If we had a line going up and down, we would call that the y-axis. But in line plots, we don't actually need a y-axis, so I can get rid of that. A line plot should also have a title. So I'm going to title my line plot length of cucumbers in inches. Lots of times the line plot will tell you what unit of measurement you're using. Okay, next I need to find my lowest value, or the shortest cucumber, and the biggest value, or the longest cucumber. So I see 3.5 is here. Let's see if I have anything that's shorter than 3.5. Yep, I have 3.25. Oh, and I have 3. So I think 3 is going to be my smallest value. And I don't see anything bigger than 4, so I'll just make 4 my endpoint on my x-axis. Okay, now I need to label my intervals. So this is going to be 3.5. This is going to be 3.25. In between, halfway in between 3 and 3.5, you'll find 3 1/4. And then in between 3 1/2 and 4, you'll find 3 3/4. Okay, now all I have to do is put 1x for each cucumber. So 1x for 3.5, 1x for 3 3/4, 1x for 3 1/4. Notice I'm crossing out each piece of data as I put it on my line plot, and that will ensure that I don't record anything more than once that isn't supposed to be there. Running out of space. 3.5, 3 3/4, and 3 1/4. Okay, so I have 2 cucumbers that are 3 inches. Inches? Yeah. I have 2 cucumbers that are 3 inches long. So that's kind of like a little short cucumber. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cucumbers that are 3 1/4 inches long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 cucumbers that are 3.5 inches long. I have 2 cucumbers that are 3 3/4 inches long, and I have no cucumbers that are 4 inches long. And it's perfectly okay to have an interval on your line plot with no data. That's not a problem. Okay, so that one is done. Okay, let's look at question 3. This says to draw a line plot to represent the data in the table. We need an x-axis. We need intervals. So you're going to have to find the lowest value, find the highest value, and then decide how you want to organize your intervals and label them. You need a title. And then you need x's to represent each of these values. Okay? So let's look at how the table is organized. This tells us 3 categories of information. We have our value. So this is where you're going to get your information about your intervals. I see 5 1/4 is, I think that's the lowest value. Yeah. So 5 1/4 is going to be your lowest value, and 8 1/4 is going to be your highest value. These other values will go in the middle. So you need to decide how to organize these values in a way that makes sense. Okay? The tally marks tell you how many pieces of data you have for that value. So that means, like, let's say that this information is the length of pencils. I always think these are easier to understand if you can give it some meaning. Let's say that this is the length of pencils in inches. These tally marks tell us that we have 3 pencils that are 5 1/4 inches long. And this 3 here is just, I think it's just a reminder that you should have 3 X's. So they're showing you in 2 different forms, tally marks and also frequency. I don't see the difference between those, really. Okay, so just for clarity, all of my X's here are just examples. And I have not, when I did these intervals, I was just doing it kind of as an example, not that you should copy my line plot exactly. So I just want to make that clear. Okay, 5 1/4 is going to be your lowest value. 8 1/4 is going to be your highest value. Now I also see that I have one value here that is 7 1/8. So that's going to be like in between 2 other values. So let's see, 5 1/4, 5 1/2. No, sorry. 5 1/2. 5 3/4, 6. See how I'm going to run out of space? That's probably what makes this tricky. Let's see. Let me start over. Okay, starting over. X-axis. 5, 6, 7, 8. Sometimes it's easier if you put your whole number values on first and then go in and add your fractions. So that's going to be 5 1/4, 5 2/4, which is the same as 5 1/2, 5 3/4, 6, 6 1/4, 6 1/2, 6 3/4. 7, 7 1/4, 7 1/2, 7 3/4. Now we can put our X's on. So I have 3 pencils that are 5 1/4 inches long. So I need 3 X's. That's done. I have 2 that are 6 3/4 inches. So I need 2 X's. I have 1 that is I have 5 that are 7 1/8 long. So for that one, that's going to be in between 7 and 7 1/4 would be 7 1/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 2 that are 7 1/2, and I have 2 that are 8 1/4. So that would be here. Okay, and that's it. Call it here. Oh, value. Okay, last problem. We're going to make a frequency chart that matches the data in the line plot. So for this one, we're working backwards. Let's see, what information needs to be in our frequency chart? We need value, tally, and frequency. Okay, so for values, I see I have nothing over 8 1/2, and I have 2 X's here right in between 8 1/2 and 9.
Good morning.
Okay, so in between 8 1/2 and 9 will be 8 3/4. So for value, I'm going to record 8 3/4. I'm going to put 1 tally mark for this X and 1 tally mark for this X for a total of 2. Okay, now in between 9 and 9 1/2, I have 9 1/4, and in between 9 and 9 1/4, here, I'm going to put 9 1/8. 9 1/8. I've got 1, 2, 3 X's there, so I'll put 3 tally marks for a total of 3. All right, now it looks like my most frequently occurring piece of data is here for 9 1/4. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tally marks there. 5, 6, 7, for a total of 7. Okay, now in between 9 1/4 and 9 1/2, that would be, let's see, if 9 1/8, 9 1/4 would be 9 2/8, so this would be 9 3/8. 9 3/8. I've got 2 X's there, so I need 2 tally marks for a total of 2. And then I've got 1 X by 9 1/2, so that's just a 1. Okay, and there's my frequency chart. I want to use, okay, number 5 says write a description of the data in the line plot. So for this, you want to use the information that's in this line plot here. Okay, so we already did this. We're just using the line plot to write our sentence. Okay, now you have a couple of different things you can do, but the easiest thing to do if you're being asked to write a sentence is tell what the typical value is, meaning like the most frequently occurring piece of information. Looking at this data, we can say that probably the typical value or the most frequently occurring value is here at 9 1/4 because I have more x's here than anywhere else. You can also comment on any outliers that you see, meaning information that seems surprising or that doesn't fit with the rest of your data. Lastly, you can comment on the range. The range is simply the lowest value to the highest value. So you would say the range for this data is between 8 3/4 and 9 1/2. And that's it. So pick a sentence you would like to write and write it on the line.